Hello everybody, welcome to the live stream. I'm so excited to have you guys today because I'm going to be talking about a very important topic about cleaning your computers. And of course, I'm not talking about the antivirus kind of cleaning. I'm not talking about the kind of cleaning where you're physically cleaning out the space, making it more dust free, but I'm actually talking about cleaning up your workspace, ensuring that your desktop isn't so cluttered, right? You guys saw the thumbnail. I'm sure some of our desktops look like that from time to time, especially our downloads folder, our documents folder, wherever we end up putting all our clutter in. I'm going to help you today learn how I clean up my clutter, how I have a system that I go through, a process, if you will, that helps me clean up my desktop and clean up my folders. If you guys can hear me properly, let me know in the chat. I'm always excited to chat along with you guys. Today is a collaborative stream. I'd love to hear your thoughts and also your objections why this method doesn't work or will work for you, because I'd love to grow and learn together with you guys. And really, this is the best opportunity for me to build together with you guys and just share all I can and have a collaborative learning experience. So I'm super excited. I think Shania already said this is exactly what I need. So I'm ready to get started. Let's get right into it. So jumping into my screen share here, as usual, I like to start every single stream with a really good breakdown on the why, what, and how. So why are we doing this today? What do we hope to achieve? And how are we going to get there? And of course, if you guys object with any of the why, what's, and hows, you have to let me know here, because then I can tackle exactly why you would need something like this, what you need to do, what your outcome should look like, and then how we can get there together. Really, I think these are the three fundamental pillars of working together and understanding each other when we ever want to share and learn something new. So first, let's talk about why. And by the way, guys, don't forget to drink some water. My water bottle is right here. It's a bit empty, but remember to drink water. Perfect. So why is because we sometimes end up piling all of our work in progress and completed documents inside in our desktop and downloads and perhaps the documents folder, and it ends up piling and being impossible to find anything that we need inside our system. Hey Travis, good to see you as well. Super excited. Awesome. You guys came right at the right time. We're just getting started, so come stream on in. So our why is because we end up piling our work in progress and completed documents in a folder, right? Whether it be your desktop, downloads, or documents, and really it just ends up piling up, right? And being impossible to find anything that we need inside our system. Well, what do we hope to achieve from this, right? Well, we want to have a clean and efficient experience when saving documents that doesn't take up a lot of mental energy, right? Because I think a lot of times when we have to think about, oh, where do you want to categorize something? Where do you want to put this document? Already at that point, we're losing our patience and we're feeling frustrated, and we don't, we think there's a better way, right? So we want to have a nice, clean, efficient, maybe perhaps even call it easy experience, right? Easy experience when saving documents that it doesn't take up a lot of mental energy. The next thing we also want to do is we want to ensure that if our documents pile up, we have a set of rules that help us take action on each item. What do I mean by that? Well, if I have a certain document, like let's say it piles up, I have 20 items in my downloads. Is there a process that I can go through, that I can sort through and cut away all the fat, cut away all the documents I may need, throw away the stuff that I don't need, and move on from there? So that's really, really important. Hi, Krissa. Good to see you as well. Really, yeah, what we're doing here is cleaning up the filing system, right? Everybody has a filing system for their own life, and we all stumbled upon Notion, I guess, in efforts or in attempts to go and clean that up. But not everything can be stored in Notion, right? I think that's another big why we need to put. Not, our Notion systems help us keep life goals, learnings, etc. organized, but not everything can be stored in Notion. Examples would be like, for me, maybe video editing files. Maybe for Shania, it will be like AutoCAD, files, just random like, images, etc. Just stuff that you wouldn't really like just directly put into Notion. You need to actively use them. And I'm actually going to show you exactly how I think about this organizational process. I'm going to rebuild it from scratch with you guys. I'm not just going to show you like, a well-created diagram from, that's already created. I'm actually going to build that diagram with you so that you know exactly why I made the decisions I made in every single step of the journey, so you're together with me, and I hope that will be valuable for you today. This is going to be a really in-depth stream, so I'm excited to do it with you guys. Okay, so we talked about the why, we talked about the what, and now let's get into the how, because the how is very important. Okay, so the how is like this. We want to have a naming convention inside our system that is clean and that is easy to understand. We want to have a workflow diagram that even a 5-year-old could follow and help sort our files. One thing that I realized really early on when I was building my own business and also starting to work together with a lot of other people is the way that I organized the company shared folder really mattered to the productivity of the company. And here is why. The reason why that is important is because if nobody can find the document that you're referring to in a meeting, nobody will go to see it. And you can say, well, Conrad, that's fine. I can forward that document to them on an email. Yes, you could. But what happens is that everybody now has a siloed version of that document. Everybody becomes a viewer of the published version, but not a collaborator on the in-progress version that you actually want other people to work together with you on, right? You want to have a seamless, transition between, hey, I'm working on something, I'm going to put my information in what I think needs to be added into this document. Someone else can throw in their information. Another person can throw in their information. That's really the whole point of working together, right? But I think that a lot of us, especially if you're putting in the workplace context, which I'm sure a lot of us can resonate with right now, is that we end up simply forwarding the end results and not allowing people to get in on the ground level. Now, what I'm trying to say here is that you really have to build with scalability in mind. It's always good to have a perfect kind of your own way of organizing, which again, completely condone. I think everyone has their own way of organizing everything, but it's always nice if you can have someone else that can just come in and within 5 minutes understand what the heck is going on in your system and be able to help you organize it or be able to help you sort things into it. You should be able to feel comfortable if you can just walk away from your computer, right? And obviously privacy and everything else, considered, but you can just walk away and have other people come in and help you, put a file somewhere. It shouldn't have to be like, oh yeah, you know what? I'll do it. You don't have to try because you just won't be able to find anything. That doesn't have to be your experience. And that's really what I'm trying to get across today. How can you make your computer organization easy to follow, maybe even fun, right? Sometimes we have fun organizing everything. And with that in mind, let's get started. So I'm going to be building this in Google Drive. You can obviously do this in Dropbox or any other kind of file, storage, whatchamacallit that you want. I like having it on a online kind of shared drive, just if I ever want to share a specific access to a folder to someone, which you will see why that's important in a bit. that's always good for me. So I like to use these tools. Again, I just use the free tiers. They give so much, like 15 gigs of data on this. Very easy. So I always just recommend using something that you can easily share and collaborate with. Again, that's really the whole theme of, my motivation maybe with this whole project. So I'm going to make 3 top level folders, okay? And oops, that's upload, my bad. 3 top level folders, and you guys can follow along with me. The first one is going to be called active projects. And if you guys have seen, the thumbnail or, the description, you'd know that I'm actually basing this off the para method from Tiago Forte. And I've taken some liberties of my own to modify it to what I think I need. And again, you guys may also see how I modified it, and I'll explain that throughout today's stream. But just know that this is largely based on his work, so I do want to give credit where credit is due. I've been very inspired by the way he organizes his folders, and I'm using this as a way to, learn from him and add on top of that, what I think could work really well. Okay, so let's just create the folders first, and you guys should follow along, whether you're just doing on your File Explorer on your Windows computer or on your File Explorer on your Mac OS. Totally fine. Just make 4 folders to start. Okay, so the first folder is active projects. The second folder is going to be areas. The third folder is going to be resources, and then the fourth folder is going to be your archive. So let's explain a bit what these 4 are. And I want to explain it first in how Tiago explains it, and then I'm going to explain it how I would explain it. So, or rather how I use it. So the first thing is active projects. Normally Tiago just calls them projects. They're the projects that you're currently working on, and if you ever want to go and find something very quickly, chances are they're inside your projects because you're currently working on them, right? They're your active projects, and they're currently the places where you're going to have most activity, And for me, how that connects into our Notion system as well, and I want to bring that up right now, so let me go and do that. Let's go bring up our systems. Sorry, actually, should have brought this up earlier. But if I wanted to bring it to our systems actually will always show you our active projects whenever they're, whenever they're up, right? That's always going to be the case. So let me bring over one of the pages. Maybe I'll just use my demo project. Okay, so let's use this version. So this is my demo project, and you can see if I go inside my daily planning, you can actually see that we always show our active projects in focus. They're always going to be in this section right here. So what you're going to want to do is ensure that anything that you have an active project on that you're working on this week, you should have a corresponding folder inside your active projects in your folder naming structure. So that makes it already super, super simple, right? So let me just use an example now, right? Like you're going to ask Conrad, what's going to be different? What are you going to have inside your Google Drive that you wouldn't have inside your projects inside Notion? Well, okay. Let's open up one of these projects, and let's just say it's one of the projects for, let's say, getting a puppy. Let's just keep it light, keep it breezy, keep it easy, right? This is an example project that you might resonate with. So getting a puppy might be your project that you're really focused on. And then inside here, inside Notion, what you will always have is the key results, right? The outcomes of this project, what will hopefully drive towards, the tasks that you're currently working on to make this project a success, and of course, any research that you might have that, helps make this better. And then you have notes. But what you wouldn't have in here are things like, well, maybe you might have pictures. Pictures might be something as well, but you wouldn't have like active contracts, for example, right? Let's say you were going to, an animal shelter, and then you had a contract. You wouldn't perhaps put the contracts in Notion, or maybe you would have things like, I was trying to rack my brain, just any kind of like other file that you wouldn't necessarily put into Notion that isn't immediately executionable. Like the way I think about, the divide between what you have in your file folders and what you have in Notion is things in your file folders, you're always actively going to go back in and edit. So things like images, right? If you're doing photo editing or video editing, you'd have your raw videos. Those things won't always live on Notion. You'd always want to have a version on your local hard drive so that you can always edit them and continuously improve them, right? So those are the things that you'd want inside your folder. So in this example, let's say we have getting a puppy. So inside my active projects, I'm going to create a new folder called getting a puppy. And this becomes the folder that correlates to my Notion project. Now, what you can also do here, and this is something that you can do inside your inside Google Drive specifically. Let's see. I know you can add a description. Yeah. So inside Google Drive, you can add a description, right? Which you can do and say, hey, I actually want to relate this project, so this getting a puppy project, together with this folder, and therefore I can easily go to a link whenever I want to. Of course, if you're not using that, you're just using your normal file explorer, you won't be able to do that. So what you could do is you can also just create a new item inside here, maybe a text document, and you can have that also be one of your links to get back into the Notion system. Again, you're just trying to create as many links as possible, right? Now, again, like I mentioned, you might be throwing things in like images, like videos, like, contracts, anything that you would not normally put into Notion, everything that you find normally just gets lost. Just stick it into here. Simple as that. That's really what I want you to get to. Is like, okay, if I have an active project, I should have a corresponding folder, and therefore whenever I work on anything related to that, I can just store everything in here and then organize it later if I need to in more minute detail. Are you guys following me so far? I want to make sure you guys are following me and understanding me, because the next steps are all going to build on this foundation, and I really want to make sure that everyone understands me and are following along. And by the way, I also want to make it clear is that when I keep talking about Google Drive or Dropbox or whatever, I'm only building it in this interface because it makes it easier for me to share my screen and show you guys. And then maybe I'll just even zoom in to make it even bigger for you guys to appreciate, what's here. But I want to just say that like all these tools have options to directly link and sync with folders on your desktop. So if you don't know what that is, just let me know in the chat. I can't explain that, but basically, Google Drive, Dropbox, all the like can have an active sync between the folder on your desktop so that you can actually just have that folder, whenever you drag something into your folder inside your desktop, you can just automatically sync it to the cloud. So I really like that kind of utility. Okay, so if you guys don't have any questions, I'm going to move on. So if I go back to my drive, right, again, the master drive, and maybe I'll just have it like this just to make it look a bit cleaner. What you can have next is your areas. So what is areas? If you guys aren't familiar with areas, essentially the way I categorize them are that the areas of life that you want to continuously improve upon and continuously build. For me, these are your core competencies that you're always going to want to continuously work towards. And in this case, for areas, they don't change very often. Your areas will often always be very static, and you're just continuously building up your excellence in them. So let me show you where that is inside the system first, right? So if I go back into the system, and let's say I go into, let's just go from here. We can go to the areas of competence, and we can see all the different areas that we have in our lives. I have a whole video on this if you want to watch this, and maybe I'll tag it on here and you guys can see it if you're watching a recording. But essentially, the areas of competence are the different areas in your life where you want that are important to you, right? And for example, for this case, it's maybe career is important to you, maybe knowledge, maybe mindset, family, finances, lifestyle, health, sustainable business, sharing, travel. All these things are definitely different areas of your life that you want to improve in. Well, so what you can do now is when you go into your folder, also create the areas inside your folder. So I'm just going to copy exactly these things, right? So I'm going to go into here, I'm going to go new folder, I'm going to call this one career, and then I'm going to make a new folder, going to call this one, I believe, knowledge, and then mindset is next. So I'm just going to keep making new ones. I hope there's a, I hope there's a keyboard shortcut. If not, that's going to take a little bit, but let's just do a few as an example. So mindset, let's make a new folder. Let's make a new folder called family. Maybe we have a new folder. We have a new folder called, let's do finances as well, because finances usually has a really good example that I can show you. So what you have here is you have a few folders that are going to continuously store all the work that you're doing on an ongoing basis that's going to help you drive towards your success in each of these areas of your life. So if I were to give an example, let's say I'm going into finances, and this is a great example because you might have a lot of Excel files. You might have a lot of Excel files that you just won't be putting into Notion because you want to work on them a lot. People have things like budgeting, right? So maybe you have a Google Sheets, and I'm just going to make a new Google Sheets here. Oops, that's a new doc, sorry. Let's make a new Sheets, and then blank spreadsheet. Let's see how that one works. And then maybe we can say that this is an example budgeting breakdown, right? And that's a new item you can have here. Let me just make sure that it syncs properly. Perfect. So inside this folder, you might have a budgeting breakdown. Maybe you might even have other stuff, right? Maybe you have something about your children's finances or your children's school breakdown. Like, these are not things that you'll always put inside Notion. You might use Notion for this if you really like to, if you want to use that kind of template. But you can also see this as, you know, a way for you to put all these different, documents that you might need to use on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on whatever recurring basis you want, that helps you really understand and access the files that you need when you're working within these areas. Again, it's a way for categorization. And I'm going to move my face for a second here and move it to the side and show you what I mean by having the ability to add a description here, right? So that you can also automatically, or not automatically, but easily relate it to the finance area, which you'll see all your goals and your sub areas that might be important for you to work toward this area as well. And then you can just paste it into this description here, and boom, simple as that. You can now see exactly all these different, breakdowns of really all the areas in your life. And now you can already start thinking about, oh, this is where things can connect. And at the end of this live stream, by the way, guys, I will be showing you like a fleshed out mind map. We're building it together, or we can call it like a flow chart, right? Where you can make decisions to first help you start getting used to this way of categorizing your documents, like just asking yourself good questions as you're going through. And then, of course, you guys can add in your own steps, but it's something that you can take home with you as well, where you can see like, hey, this is how, Conrad thinks about his workflow, and this is how I can think about mine. But so on. Do you have any questions about areas? Because again, very important topic. I do want to make sure you guys understand before I link up the active projects and the areas and show you how that works. And in the second, I'm going to take some water. So give me a quick second. Don't forget to hydrate yourself, guys. It's always good to keep yourself hydrated. All right, awesome. Perfect. So let's talk a bit about how projects goes into areas, okay? So whenever we finish a project, right? And I'll use an example from, let's use an example from our, let's use an example from review cycles. So let's say, we we're doing our monthly review, we're finishing our review, and then we realize that, hey, we actually have, some projects that we've completed. Actually, let's use a weekly review. Let's end a weekly review, right? We finish our week, and then we realize that we have some projects that we finished. Okay, so let's go into here. Let's say these projects are currently in focus, but let's say that we look back and we say, hey, we actually finished one of these projects, right? That's what we finished getting a puppy. Okay, getting a puppy is a finished project. Then what happens to the project information, right? What happens to, this active projects folder, this information? Where does it go? Okay, first thing is, let's go upstream. Let's figure out where getting a puppy actually leads up to, right? And what I mean by that is, what is the reason why we even wanted to get a puppy in the first place? In this example, well, if I keep going upstream, it's because I wanted happier days from April to May. The upstream of that is to be happy. Okay, let's take a look. What does be happy look like? And then when I'm in be happy, well, the area that it was building towards was mindset. Okay, well, that's interesting, right? So I was trying to get a puppy because I wanted to be happier, and whatever outcome happened, let's say I was happier, let's say the metric happened, the outcome came across, and I can keep using more examples, by the way. You guys can just shoot me more examples and I can just show you how those work. Just ask me all questions. I'm very confident that this way of organizing can tackle at least 90% of all the use cases you have. But in this example, this was obviously relating to something called mindset. Well, okay, let's see. So going back to areas, I do have one called mindsets, and we can see in mindsets it's empty right now. So maybe it will create a new folder that says this is, the getting happiness. Okay, the path to happiness, and maybe we could create a folder in there called that. So inside my mindset area, I think that happiness is an important part of that, and maybe this is also a sub area in the future that you might want. And this is something that I teach inside our level up course, but let me just brief upon it a little bit right now, where the idea is that whenever you finish a project, you actually want to make it immortalized. And what I mean by that is, whenever you complete a project, it's always good to ensure that that information, that knowledge that you just learned when creating a project, doesn't get lost. You can always find a way to make sure that it's going to be something that you build upon in the future, right? So in this case, maybe getting a puppy becomes a master. It becomes becomes a best practices for anybody else in your family or friend circle that might want to get a puppy. Maybe they want to also know, oh, how do you get immunization? How do you get the shots, right? What are the shots you need? Where are the good places that you can potentially get a dog? Which shelters, are the best to go towards, right? How did you convince your family in order to, get that dog into your life? Like, all these are different information that you can see that are valuable, not just for yourself in the future, right? If you ever want to repeat this process again, but it's also going to be important for anybody else who may want to follow in your footsteps. Again, I'm using a very simple and fun example as getting a puppy, but imagine you're running a company. Imagine you're doing something that is monetizing your creativity and, selling some product or service, right? If you figured it out one time with your first project or second project, whatever it might be, but you figured out how to do this thing, wouldn't it be nice if you could teach other people how to do it too, and also have an easy way to remind yourself of how that thing works? Well, how you can do that is, within the system, you can essentially turn this project into a best practices documents inside your areas of competence. And of course, that's not something that I'll jump into today in this stream because that's out of scope, but I just wanted to let you know that that's one of the ways that I use the masters and trackers inside our system, inside our sub areas here in the areas of competence. Really, they're just ways for you to document exactly, all these different ways of, succeeding inside each one of your areas. So if I have this right here, right, let's say that I have a new master. Again, I want to correspond those two different places. So inside here, I have something called the path to happiness. That is also something I'm going to create inside here as a master. So let's call it the path to happiness. right? And what makes me happy, right? What makes me happy? This becomes something that I can type out. And then this relates to my area of mindset. Again, very simple. And then maybe I might review this on a monthly basis. Boom, just like that. So now I have the exact same naming convention. Within mindset, I have the path to happiness, and then I can now drag my folder for inside the active projects for getting a puppy inside that folder. So I'm going to move to, and let's see if I can move to easily, right? I can move to my areas. I can move to my mindset, the path to happiness, and I can move here. So now I've been able to immortalize one of my active projects into that area, and I can easily be able to access it whenever I want in the future. So that's also very important. Now comes third and the fourth, resources and archive. Now, let's talk about archive first, because we've already talked about active projects. And archive essentially is your place to put in things that aren't necessarily working. So let's say that project for getting a puppy wasn't a good project that got me towards my outcome. That's fine. That's an experiment, and that's how we can break it down and move on and move forward. So what we might want to do is move that project into our archive folder instead, where we're going to store these things for roughly around a month to a few months, just in case we find value for them again. Now after 30 days, if we still don't find value after a month, or even you can do a quarter if you want, that's when you can go in and delete these things and then clear them up from your workspace. Again, a lot of us hold a lot of attachments to our files. We end up data hoarding. Maybe that's a word that we could use here. And it's because we don't actually know if they might be useful or not in the future. We just keep thinking, oh, it's going to be useful someday. It's going to be useful someday. It's going to be useful. But then in the end, is it really useful? Do you really use them again? Do we ever look back on those items, way back when? I think Crystal was mentioning you have some things back in 1996, right? And I'm sure there are good value in there, but the whole point of this way of categorizing is to help you break down and understand exactly, which parts of the system, or which part of your system, which part you truly need, and you want to keep further on, and really breaking down that into its, very fundamental components. Great. So that's archives, right? And then the third one is going to be resources. Now, resources is interesting. I think you can interpret it in many, many different ways. And I don't necessarily want to give you only one way of doing it. So I will just give you a few options and perhaps just a guidance on how I do it. So for resources, what I like to think of it about is these are your global resources. No matter what, these are going to be things useful for you, no matter what area you're looking into, no matter what project you're working on. These are just fundamental resources that are going to be very helpful for you. So what might be some good examples of this? Well, you can think of this as like, let's say I have some very technical examples. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out like what might be useful. Like ebooks is something I would put in there. Obviously ebooks is also something that you can put inside your knowledge area, right? But I also like putting my ebooks into resources because it helps me just easily access them, right? They're just places where I can easily access and read something new. I would put it inside resources if that makes sense to you. Another thing that I would put into here would be things like pictures. Pictures for me are resources, right? Pictures for me are resources where I can put in and I can organize and I can have a very nice breakdown, right, of exactly all the different timelines of my life, and I can look back and see all the historical information. That's again something I might put into resources. But really anything that you see that is global facing, like anything that like really could belong into any category. Again, pictures is a really good example. Actually, I want to just harp on that because your pictures can be relating to family. Your pictures can be relating to your mindset. Pictures can be relating to travel. It could be related to any number of things, right? But because that it could be so wide reaching, it's also very useful to have it inside your resources so you can just access them very easily. And actually, I do also have a photo kind of organization structure that I might want to share in the future. Do let me know if that's something you want to see. But I've been quizzing all my photographer friends, my filmmaker friends, really trying to understand exactly how they organize their folders, because they do this for a living, right? Obviously, it can't be so cluttered. I don't know about you guys, but my pictures are cluttered as heck, right? Way back when. And so I've been working together with them to come up with a really cool structure on how we can break down our photos and storage for our images. So let me know if that's interesting to you. Okay, cool. So I've talked about active projects, areas, resources, and archive. Let me know if you have any questions about this, because again, they all build on each other and you can see exactly how they relate into the system, to your Notion system, which makes it really easy to use and access. Again, I hope you guys have been building together with me, because that means that you can ask me questions on exactly, throw me a file that you just can't sort, and then I will help you sort it, because I really believe that this system has merits. And again, thanks to Tiago for introducing this to me, and then obviously everyone else that has come by and given me feedback inside the community about this system. So what's next? I want to talk about creating a flowchart to help you understand this process. Again, if you didn't understand it here, ask me questions so I can include it in the flowchart so that you can also follow along and not have to get lost, right? So let me first sign into Whimsical. That's one of the tools I use to flowchart and mind map. So let me sign into there and just really show you a bit about how that works. Let me know in the chat so far if you enjoy this, and if you have, please to help us out by giving us a like on the video. That does help us, and the engagement on the video helps. Always happy to chat with you guys and learn more from you all. So let's go into Whimsical, and I'm going to drag this over. Let's see. Okay, perfect. Let's make a new board. Flowchart. Okay, so I made a new flowchart, and we can call this one our file management system. Okay, so essentially, let's again write out the purposes on the side to ensure we have an easy and clear workflow to help us organize our folders. Okay, our files and folders. And this is going to be our purpose. We can put that on the side, right? Just to help us remember as we're going through this, really, are we living or are we working in accordance with this principle? Okay, so let's go and let's start. So let's make this is our starting journey. Start, and we gotta make it fun and make it like a game, right? And make it a little journey. And I'm gonna zoom in a bit so it's easy for everyone to see what I'm doing. Okay, so basically, first we want to ask ourselves some questions. Okay, so let's say when we start is when we have a file that we're trying to organize. Okay, the first question we ask ourselves is this something we are working on in active projects? Okay, again, if you're using the system, something that you should be very intuitively knowing, right? Because obviously there are things that you brought up inside your weekly review that you said, hey, this is something I want to work on actively. Okay, so let's just say start. Is this something we are working on in our active projects? If yes, then we're going to go into here, and then we're going to say, actually, let's do it this way. Let's do another decision here, and we're going to say, do we already have a folder for this active project? and then we're going to say yes or no. So we're going to go here, we're going to go into here, we're going to say this is yes, and then we're going to say, so these are decisions, we're going to say create a new folder with the active project name, or we save to the existing folder for the active project. Okay, so these are your stages for active projects, and I'm going to just make this text smaller so I can read it better. And then we can go from here. Yes will keep taking us to the right, so let's go yes, and then no will bring us down. Let's see, let's go no. Okay, so that's the first step. That's about your active projects. If we say no, then what happens? Simple. We say, okay, is this something that we are working on in our areas of competence, right? We talked about that. So areas of competence are things that are areas of life that we're always going to be engaging in, that we're always going to be working on, and therefore there should always be a relation between the things that we are currently trying to save and something in our areas of competence, even if it's not in active projects, because then otherwise, why are you doing it, right? It doesn't build towards any part of your life that you want to improve. So it should always have a correlation in your areas of competence. But I will also show you if that's the case. I'll also show you a situation where that might not be the case. So let's bring this to the bottom here, and then let's do a relation or a flow. We're going to say no. Okay, if it's not something that it's not working in our active projects, it is something that's in our areas of competence. Again, it could be yes or it could be no. We're going to see what's going to happen from there. So then we can say if it's a yes, then we will say save. Okay, no, the second question would be, is this something that coexists with, is this something that is related to a master or a tracker, right? A sub area. And again, in this previous example, so I'll show it up again now. Let me just grab some water. So in the previous example, we have determined that actually getting a puppy, right, was going to be something that would live inside the path to happiness master inside mindsets, right, inside the area of mindsets. So in the future, if I ever have any new information on how getting a puppy might be, improved, whether it be, how like new guidelines or new contracts for adopting a puppy, new food pictures, new receipts for puppy management, whatever it might be, these are all things that I can store inside getting a puppy, which again lives inside path to happiness, which lives inside mindset. And also it gives you a really good reminder of why you're doing this, right? Sometimes again, you're feeling dreary, you're just organizing your files, you're saving things, and you don't really remember, why you did this all in the first place. Again, it really gives you a boost of energy if you remember, this is why I'm doing this. It's for the path to happiness, right? So it's really cool that way. That I really like it. And again, let me just give you another example for finances, right? You could break down into two folders here. You can say this is your finance management, right? And then this is your investment management, right? Investment tracker maybe, right? So inside your investment tracker, okay, this is a perfect example. Let me show you how I would do something like this, right? So inside my investment tracker, I might have different, KYC, right? This is personal identification. Sometimes when you want to open up brokerage accounts, you have to show your personal identification for other people to know who you are and give you authority to trade. That's something you need. So then again, that becomes KYC, personal identification. Maybe I might have a new folder in here that has stuff like all the stock trades I've made, right? Maybe that's something I track in here, or again, something that you might track in Notion, because that's a good usage of Notion in my opinion. But anyways, all you can do is just come into here and you say, okay, actually, yeah. So I have things that live within this master of investments, right? Within the greater realm of finances, but this is specifically about doing investments. This is specifically about doing finances, right? So this is how you can break it down again. So if it's related to something, if it's something that related to a master or a tracker, right? So again, this is a yes flow. So we're gonna go yes. And then we're going to say, do we have a folder already for this master and tracker? Do we have a folder already? And then we're going to say yes or no. And then again, yes. If we have a folder already, and then we can say yes again. Actually, I might reorganize this to be yeses go down, nos go right. I think that's smarter, so then we can just keep going. But then the nos, I want this to keep going down. It's interesting. I don't know the best way. We will think about it after it's all built. Usually you can connect the dots looking backwards, but it's very tough to see when you're just writing it out. Okay, so you can say if it's yes, then we can say, oh, actually, this should be no, this should be yes. This should be swapped the other way around. I didn't catch that. So this should be here. Let's see, perfect. Let's go here. So no is create a new folder. So let's also create this over here. So we have a folder, no, we create a new folder. If yes, then we use the save to the existing folder. Boom, just like that. And then boom, just like that. So create a new folder with the sub area name, or save to the existing folder for the sub area. Okay, awesome. So that's going to be the way that we break that down, right? So now we already have a few flows. Again, let me just repeat them, okay? So let's say that I have a new item. I'm determining that, again, let's say it was a budgeting spreadsheet, okay? If it's a budgeting spreadsheet, maybe I can have inside active projects. Maybe I have an active project to be better in charge of my finances, right? That will be something that I go into here and then I make a new folder and I say, get better in charge of my finances. Again, that should correlate with Notion. That should correlate with our Notion workspace as well. And if we already have an active folder, then we'll make an then we'll save it to that existing folder. If we don't, then we'll create a new folder. Simple as that. Now, if it's not something in our active projects, but it's something that we still worked on, then it should be something that is inside our areas of competence. If yes, then it's related to a master or a tracker, a sub area. And again, the same thing. If we have a folder ready, we'll just save to the existing folder. If not, we'll create a new folder. I always want to stress that you don't always have to have a folder inside your file management, that if you have that project or that area or that sub area inside Notion, because sometimes you just don't have a local file for that. You might not have a local file folder for that, and that's fine. But what you have to know is just that whenever you make a new project, you try to relate that together with what you already have on Notion so that everything becomes seamless and interconnected. Great. And in the off chance that it is still a no, all right, that it doesn't link to your areas of competence, well, first thing is you should probably reconsider why you're doing this thing. And if it's important to you enough for you to work on it, you perhaps should have, you know, an active project or an area that, you know, it relates to. But anyway, let me still add that step in here. If it's a no, okay, you should just reconsider and try again. You should have an active project or area of competence for everything that you do. Okay, so that's one of my statements I'd say. It's a bit blunt, but I really think you should always have, you know, a like somewhere to store it. Otherwise, you're not really being intentional. You'd be intentional, right? And you guys, again, can just let me know if you have any examples you'd like me to use, because I really want to go through your real examples that you see for yourself, like that it works, that it really does work, okay? So there's two flows that I talked about today, right? There's going to be the flow to start organizing a file, okay? So start organizing a file is going to be important here. And maybe I can even say like what is useful for. Example, active files you need on your desktop. Okay, and then there's also a second workflow that I want to talk about, which is going to be about cleaning up your workspace. So migrating things from your active projects into either your areas of competence, your resources, or your archive. Actually, I do have one thing I might throw into here. I'm going to just say I will actually extend this. Let's say this. Okay, let's do this. So I think there is a resources step. So I'm going to add into here. I'm going to say a little thing. Does this item belong with multiple areas of competence? And if that's the case, it goes into resources. So I think this goes into this step actually. So let me just do that. Does this item belong to a specific area of competence? And then if yes, then we'll keep going down this chain. So let's go into here. I'm going to go from here. I'm going to say yes. And then I'm going to go from here to here. And I'm going to say yes again. And if this is a no, okay, so what's important here, this is a no, then we will end up storing it inside resources. Store it inside resources, and then we can relate this. We can put it right here. This is going to be the no chain. I'm going to say no right here. And then that's perfect. And then for here, we're going to have that reconsider thing. Perfect. This will be the end of the journey actually. So we're going to do it like that. Perfect. So that's going to be the first workflow, like I mentioned. And then the second workflow is going to be on a weekly basis. So clean up your active projects. This is an example weekly review. Okay. Again, by the way, this whole step, this should really not take longer than like, half a minute to think about, right? Honestly, when you get practice with it, 10 seconds, you already know, okay, I'm storing something. Is it an active project? It's not. Okay. Is it something I'm working on in areas of confidence? Probably. Does it relate to a specific area? Probably. Okay. Something master tracker? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. It stores inside, the path to happiness, maybe for inside mindset, or maybe it stores into, investments inside finances. Oh, maybe it's going to be storing inside, just another example would be, maybe something about nutrition, right? Okay, it's going to be inside my nutrition master, inside my health area. Really, really simple to start breaking down and start adding things into the respective areas that just really make it really clear where you should store everything. Okay, now the second flow, like I mentioned, is going to be cleaning up your active projects. And again, this is something really easy, okay? So we ask one quick question just to start us off. Have we completed any projects this week? And then we say yes or we say no. So let's go. We say, and then if we say yes, then we say, okay, let's say no first. No will be an end state, so we'll just go and end it. So let's do this. No, we end. you're done. Right? So super simple as that. If it's no, then you're just done. But if you have something that you've completed this week, then we can ask ourselves, was this project successful? Okay, do we want to immortalize this project, right? Again, similar wordings helps us a lot. Say yes, we completed projects, and if yes, then we want to also say okay, I might redo this based on affirmatives instead of okay, let me try on that. Okay, but anyway, let's finish this. So have we completed any projects this week? If yes, do we want to immortalize this project? Again, we say if yes, then we will say is there a specific area that this lives under? And then if we say yes, is there a specific masters? Is there already a masters trackers sub area folder that fits this project? And then if we say okay, and then if we say, let's go into here first. So we say yes. We say yes down here. Is there already a masters or trackers subfolder that fits this project? I want to reword it so that it's affirmative, so that we can say we create a new one. But I think it's fine. We can just go into here. We can say create. We can say save the project into this folder, or we can say make a new folder for this project. Okay, and then you're done from there. So it's really simple as that. Oh wait, actually no, there's a few more steps. But let me just show you guys where those steps would live. So if I say I don't want to immortalize this project, then this is really simple. I'm going to say we should save it into archive. Okay, we talked about that. We save it into archive if that's the case. And then if there's no specific area, we save it into resources. So we save it into archive. We save it into resources. And then we can say yes. And then I'm actually going to relate this down into here. And then we're going to do this. I'm going to say no. And then we're going to do this. We're going to say no. Let me know what you guys think in terms of like how we could organize this flowchart. I can either make it sideways or I can make it like this, like goes down. Usually the best practice is to go down, but it's really up to you guys, like how you might want to see it. But anyway, we can say no here. There's going to be no. And then that looks a bit better, and then this is no, 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 and then this goes in. Okay, perfect. So every week, what I'm trying to say here, every week when we want to clean up our active projects and do our weekly review, we ask ourselves, have we created any projects this week? If yes, do we want to immortalize this project? If yes, we ask if there's a specific area that lives under. If yes, is there a masters and trackers folder that fits this project? If yes, save this project into this folder. If at any point you say no, you're done. You say no for immortalizing, you save it into archive. If you say no to having a specific area, you save it into resources. If you say no to having a masters and trackers folder that already is existing, then you just make a new folder for the project, and then you're done. So That's super easy, super awesome. And John's giving a suggestion that says creating a folder when you create a project would cut some out. That's interesting. So we're saying that, we're keeping that in the same flow. Got it. Okay, let's do that. So now I'm going to go back and just clean up the first flow that we had because based on our new insights. So this is actually a good lesson also in building interesting flowcharts. I think there's something to learn here for that. So I'm going to show this here. Okay, so when we say this, we're going to say, start organizing a file. Is this something that we are working on in active projects? Then we say yes, we go down. And again, I think they're really the main conclusion that we want is always to go down to just saving it into active projects. That should be the most common use case, right? Again, I'm always showing like when you go down a flowchart, usually the most common use case is the one that you can go straight down. So in the same case here, I'm going to build that structure, okay? So is this something that we're working on in active projects? We say yes, and then we say yes here. So I'm just going to just roll that out like this. So if we say yes, then we go down, and then we're also going to just say you're done down here. So it could be pretty simple, just like this. So we're going to go down, we're going to say yes, like this. Yes. I'm going to say yes, we're going to say yes. Yes, yes. And then we have a downflow. We're going to say yes down here. And then we're going to say yes. We're going to say, instead of, I'm going to use the terms more concisely, so create a new folder here. So then I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to go and say no. And then I'm going to go down here and then say, then finish that up. And then is this something that we're working on in active projects? And then if we say no, then we want to talk about the areas of competence. So we're going to go into here. Is this something that we're working on in our areas of competence? Again, this has a yes/no chain. So we say no. And then this has a yes/no chain. So let's bring that up over here. Does this item belong to a specific area? Okay, this is file, maybe we can call it. This is file. Is this something? Okay, we're gonna go here. We're gonna say, again, yes should go down, no should go forward. Okay, so we want to say, actually, let's bring this over to the left side then, because we already have a lot of stuff here. I don't want to clog that up. So you can also see that we can clean this up. We can bring this to the left side. So we're going to say no right here. And then we're going to say yes to go down. So this is a second chain, parallel chain. We can say yes. And again, if we say no, then we're going to reconsider and try again. And then if yes, it belongs to a specific area, then we're going to ask ourselves, is this something related to a Masterson tracker? So we're going to go down. This is again a yes. And then this goes to no. We're going to store it inside resources. This is going to be a no. This is going to be a no. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have, do we have a folder already? And again, I know it's being suggested in the chat right now that we might just take away this step, maybe. I just want to remind people, just in case they don't remember, to create a new project. So let's just do that. And then we have here, we can, if we say yes, then we do this. And then we say no, we do this. So this can be a nice step for us. Perfect. So this is a yes, and this is a no, and then we are done. So everything relates to done. So this should be a end state. This is an end state as well, and this is an end state also. Perfect. So let's kind of show how this works. So I am starting my journey. Let's make it purple. And then these are positive end results. So let's finish this off like this. So this is a positive end result. So we're going to make them green. This is also a positive end result. This is a green. This is also a green. This is a red. This is a green. And perhaps I'll make this so that doesn't look so glaring. So we're going to do this. We're going to do this. And then this is like this. Perfect. So let's explain this one more time. And again, let's try this out in real time, right? So let's talk about this. Our purpose with this is to have an easy and clear workflow to help us organize our files and folders. So whenever we start organizing a file, so for example, we might have an active file that we need on our desktop that we can't store in Notion, we ask ourselves, is this something we are working on in active projects? If yes, super simple. Do we have already a folder for this project? If no, create a new folder. If yes, just save to the existing folder. Easy as that. If it's not something that we're working on in active projects, then we're going to ask, is it something that we're working on in our areas of competence? If it's not that, we should really reconsider and try again, because you should have an active project or areas of competence for everything that you do to be really intentional about your work. If yes, then does it belong to a specific area? If no, we store it inside resources. If yes, we ask if it's related to a master or tracker, a sub area. If yes, do we have a folder already? If not, then we create a new folder. If yes, then we save to the existing folder, and simple as that. Actually, this isn't the end result then. I just realized I'll catch my mistake. This is going to be a white, and then this actually ends up to be the end result. Perfect. And then I'll even clean this up a little bit. I'll say related to a master to tracker. Perfect. If you have any questions on this, let me know, okay? And this is nearing the end of our live stream, and I'm going to talk about the last one, which is on a weekly basis, what can you do with the system? Well, on a weekly basis, I'm going to go in and I'm going to say, okay, I want to clean up my active projects. Have we completed any projects this week? If yes, do we want to immortalize this project? If yes, is there a specific area that this lives under? If yes, is there already a master to tracker folder that fits this project? If yes, we save the project into this folder. Simple. And then we're done. If no, at any stage, if we don't want to immortalize, then we save it into our archive. This is an end state. So I'm going to end state it right here. I'm going to turn it into green. Is there a specific area that lists live under? If no, then we save it into resources. So again, an end state that we're going to keep right here, again in green. Is there already a master to trackers that fits this project? If no, then we create a new project. We save the project into this folder, and then we are done. Simple as that. So I hope this was relevant and useful for you. I will definitely look to make a concise breakdown of this in a blog, perhaps sometime next week. And obviously I'll also chop up the video to make it a bit more easy to listen to if you guys want to rewatch the VOD, the recording. But really, this is the way that I organize my folders. It's been immensely helpful for me just to understand everything, really having everything at a fingertips notice. And again, if you're using something like Drive or using something like Dropbox, you can just search. Searching is so easy. You can just search everything. You can find it all. And best of all, you can have direct syncing with your local hard drive as well, so that you don't have to go to an online interface. You don't have to download and save. You just save one time, you just drag something into your folder and you're done. And again, this whole process really should not take more than 30 seconds. Really, this process takes less than 30 seconds, and I almost guarantee you, obviously you can have your own way of doing things, but I almost guarantee you that your desktop, your documents, and your download folder will be much more clean at the end of it. So I hope that was helpful. If it was, please remember to like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. We're going to be pushing out a lot of content this weekend, so stay tuned. And everybody, please have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, bye everybody.